Good afternoon, Tony.
How you doing, Paul? You doing okay, mate?
Yeah, we've done this quite spur of the moment, haven't we? Just message
Yeah, we
each
have.
other. Let's just do it now. So you've come recommended by Jackie.
Yes.
Jackie
The lovely
said,
Jackie Pollock.
yeah, she said that you've DJ'd at a lot of places. So I think a good way to start it would be when did you get into house music?
Well, I was always into, so I was born in 1970.
Yeah,
So by the age of 11, 12, started listening to electronic music. And then 83, when I was about 13, Electro come out and it just caught me head. So the electronic sound just got right into my brain. So from there, I was always into electro, and then it got to a bit later on. So you'd like Human League, stuff like that. That sound always captivated me. And then 86, 87, when house music came out, the first time I heard it, that was it. Nothing else mattered. I mean, when I say nothing else mattered, nothing else mattered.
yeah. What took you to that level? Was it through just discovering the music, or was it clubs?
Well, my brother was a mobile DJ, a really good one. So I used to work in fish market in the Arndale and on Salford Precinct. So on a Saturday, he used to send me to Spinning Records to get his records for him. So then I used to go in. I'd be stood there in my fish clothes, thinking of fucking fish. Everyone
Are
looking
you
at
going
me.
spinning in your fish clothes?
Yeah, are you? Yeah. I was only like 15, 16, something like that.
Yeah,
And then I got to know Russ behind the counter and Kenny. And then one day Russ said, "Listen to this. This is my memory as it was. Maybe vary a little bit, but I remember Russ saying, listen to this. I think it was Nitro Deluxe, this Brutal House. And as soon as I heard it, that was it. Everything changed. Everything changed. I was into going out and used to go to Rotters and Tropicana and Piero.
shirt and tie and a fight.
Yeah, shirt and tie and a fight. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
it was that boring. And then when this come out and the advent of Ecstasy as well, it just the two aligned like you wouldn't believe, and that was it. Then and from then on in away.
I didn't check before whether we can talk about that.
You can talk about what you want. You can talk about what you want, mate.
So, can you remember your first ecstasy?
You didn't check because we're not supposed until we just started this. My first exercise it was either 1986 or 1987, and my mate Jimmy, I won't say his second name, we went to the Hacienda, and it was 35 quid for my first day
£35.
in 1987.
Wow.
Yeah, so we went to the Grapes. Do you know where Granada Studios used to be?
Yeah.
Went to the Grapes pub there. Was it Water Street? Whatever. Yeah, so we went great.
Yeah.
Went there first, and we was having champagne and tequila slammers, and then my mate Jimmy, like he met another lad, a friend of yours.
Yeah. Jeff.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and then went in the Hacienda. Went in the Hacienda about 10 o'clock. Took my first ecstasy. Got on the dance floor about 10:15, and opened my eyes at when I was getting booted out.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, and it completely changed me, my way of thinking, the way I acted, the people I knocked about with, not in a bad, I'm just not saying the people I knocked about with were bad. It just completely changed,
Yeah.
absolutely everything
Yeah.
in my mindset, absolutely everything.
Yeah. It's incredible, isn't it? Because I was watching Greg Wilson interview the other night, and I'll give him a shout out behind the curtains.
Yeah,
And he was talking about like how DJs would talk through a microphone, and that house music, it changed everything, didn't it? It's like I was trying to think when was the last time I went in a bar where the
And
DJ
heard
was
the DJ, and
talking
heard the
about
DJ speaking.
yeah, because it just everyone started mixing, didn't they? And
Yeah,
everywhere you
yeah.
went after a bit was playing house music, weren't they?
I mean, I DJ in front of tens and thousands of people, no problem, no nerves, no nothing.
yeah,
But microphone in front of me, no chance.
yeah.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
How did you get into DJing?
Through just through my brother, and then going to spinning, and then when I went to the Hacienda, see my favorite DJ on earth is John the Silver. I think he's the better. Still to this day, I still think he's the best DJ. There's many good DJs.
Yeah,
But I started going to the Hacienda, and well, before that, I listened to Steve Williams, and I remember we was at somewhere in Lower Broughton at like a legal party, and so Steve's on the decks, and so he's slowing it down with his finger, and I didn't have a fucking clue what he was doing, but I knew he was, so I thought he was listening to the record through touching, but I know now he was slowing it down.
yeah,
So it was the art of mixing, because I could not understand how this person or these persons were making these two records into one record, and
yeah,
it absolutely blew my mind. Blew my mind. So then I thought, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. So I bought some Citronic decks, belt drives, which are fucking
yeah,
nightmare to DJ on. But I learned
yeah,
to DJ on. So I learned to mix on Citronics, and then
yeah,
my first ever time I went on Technics
yeah,
was me. I went to a party at Russ's house, Russ and Spinning, on a Sunday afternoon. So we
yeah,
had his Technics deck set up. So I went on, and as soon as I touched him, I could mix, because I'd learned to mix in my head through belt drives. When I come to using Technics, I could mix, and then it was just, that was it from there. So then I ordered my first decks. It was 565 quid, and it was from I think his name was Andy, on Beach Street on Deansgate, and it took about you had to go order from Germany. It took about 3 months to come. So then
wow,
I had one Technics deck and it's on this deck, and it drove me fucking bananas. But
yeah.
once it got me to my Technics, then that was it. Nothing else. I'd go to work, I'd go to spinning, I'd come home, and I'd be on my decks. I'd be on my decks till I fell asleep, and that was it for forever.
Where did you first play? What venues?
No, well, I used to play a lot of legal parties. Like I grew up in Salford, so I used to know all the Salford lot. So I used to do little like LA Gym, and used to do a lot for Paul Massey in these little parties here and there, and like the Golden Gate on Cross Street. And then, but one of my first gigs, as far as I can remember, was the Man Alive in Manchester
Oh, wow, yeah,
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 so for Eric Barker. Um,
yeah,
so I used to play at the Man Alive. I used to bring my own decks, and I used to live in the Masonettes on Salford Precinct then, so I'd be fucking carting my decks down and mixing and all that. And then
yeah,
at the end of the night, when I was fucking levered, carrying back up, I was surprised I didn't have an heart attack. But that was
yeah.
one of my first clubs. Well, nightclub, yeah. I suppose it was a nightclub, because when it first started, if you was in a nightclub, you had to have a food license, so you had to serve food. So I always remember when Alive, they realised that they was getting far more people in, because there was no DJs about then. There was nobody about, so there was no social media. So, and like I used to go in the Hacienda. I used to go in spinning. I spent all my wages at spinning, but I'd hear the records. So like Graham Park, Johnny Silver, and Mike Pickering played this record. Like for instance, Dreams of Santorano, or Acid Thunder, or Voodoo Ray. You couldn't find out what it was. You had no social media. So then, like 6 months later, I'd get this record. So, and in the end, Russ and Kenny used to let me to give me a bag full of records. I'd take them home, and what I didn't want, I'd bring back and pay for the rest.
Why did they let you do that?
Because I spent all my, I was one of the best customers.
Wow, that's
So
impressive.
then I'd get home. I'd be still working at the fish market at the time. So I'd go in and get these bag of records, and it was like magic. They were so precious. These records, I didn't even know what they were.
Yeah.
So then I'd get home and I'd put it on, and I always remember the first time I remember I put Dreams of Santa Ana on. So this was at home in my bedroom in the
Yeah.
Masonettes in Salford, and I put it on, and that was the record. See, I used to go and spinning and like say, "Oh, this record," and like as a funder, I used to be like, it goes biggity bong, and be like, "What the fuck is
Yeah.
going on about?"
Yeah.
So when like Keisha Jenkins, I Need Somebody, Voodoo Ray, Sueno Latino, when these things were so rare because there was no social media, no nothing. It was so important in my life when I actually got this piece of plastic, 12 inches, and put it on and hear it and be like, that's the record I've been craving for 6 months,
Yeah.
however
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Magical.
Yeah. I remember just a random memory then when I was in Leeds, and I went in a club, the
What
Orbit,
club?
the Orbit,
Oh, the Orbit, yeah. Played the Orbit a
yeah,
few times, yeah.
and I was going to say,
In Morley.
yeah, just out. Is it Morley or is it
I think was it Morley? I'm not sure. I've
just
got more. I've got when you said the Orbit, I've got Morley in my head.
kind of like outside, just a bit outside Leeds, and then Alistair, oh God,
Alistair Whitehead.
yeah, he might have been him, played a record, and then it had sirens on, and then loads of people were crowding around the box after because everyone wanted to know that record,
Was it
and you don't get
Mantronics?
that now, do you? You
Was it
thought,
what? Was it Mantronics?
no, it was just some mad. They played all Chancer, and everyone wanted to know what the record was, but you don't get
You see,
that buzz now,
you
do you?
couldn't. There's no way of finding out. There was no way of
Yeah,
finding out.
yeah. People just Shazam now, don't they? Or they could just,
Oh, as soon as the record's released now, you can just it's available. But
yeah,
in them days, it was. I think that was the part of the magic. Like people used to travel all over the country. We used to do nights in Blackpool and Nottingham, people on Leeds, loads in Leeds at the warehouse.
play the warehouse.
I played the warehouse for about 5 6 years. Me, Sasha, Steve Williams.
I was young at
We
the warehouse with them.
Yeah, we had a residency at the warehouse, Kaos.
Yeah.
For
I
Tony
was a
Adams.
resident Chaos.
Yeah, I was a resident at Kaos for years and years and years.
Yeah.
So me, Sasha, Steve used to play it, or me, Sasha, and LaRon Garner used to play it, and we'd do it on a Tuesday night, once a fortnight, and it held like 1,600 people. There were 2,000 people outside it Tuesday afternoon trying to get in.
Wow.
It's fucking amazing. But that was that. I think if there was social media then, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
I think it's the magic. People used to travel about because this magical new thing that came out, house music,
Yeah.
where you could only hear it in clubs, and you could only and only certain DJs had certain records. So I might have a record. I went to Benidorm and I bought a tune called Wood Allen Airport '89. So I bought that in and the business party line as well. So I come back and it was only me that had it. And then Steve Williams would get you. Steve Williams used to put stickers over the labels of the tune. So if it was playing, I'd look. I couldn't, and he used to get them from Eastern Bloc, and it'd be say rarer than hen's teeth or something like that. But you could. So certain DJs had certain tunes.
Yeah.
And people used to travel all over the country to listen to them.
Wow. So like this is literally like the first time we spoke, and I haven't had time to do any research on it, but I didn't know you would do I had a look at when Jackie messaged, it was only last week, wasn't it? And or a few days ago, and I had a quick look at your Facebook, and there's a picture with you with Steve Williams.
Yeah. Good mate of mine, Steve. An absolutely fantastic human being.
Yeah.
Fantastic human being.
Yeah.
And some DJ. Some DJ.
That's what's coming up as I'm doing these videos. So many people say, "Oh, Steve Williams, he was a legend," and I think he adds to the mistake because he kind of disappeared, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He fell out of love with it. Like so, then like we'd go from doing Chaos, and then me, Steve, Sasha, would go and do Leeds Polytechnic or Bradford University. Massive nights, and I could see then he was kind of getting. He's a very smart cookie, Steve. Very, I think he went to work somewhere. And he was a chemical engineer or something, but very smart kid. And I could see he was getting disillusioned then. And then we've spoke a lot since, and I know he got disillusioned with the scene.
Yeah, because like Sasha would have been his understudy, wasn't he? And then Sasha went on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we all kind of got together around about the same time, because we're all. Steve's a bit older than me, but like I said, when I went to before I went to, what's it called? It was next to Broughton Baths. I can't remember what it was. We got raided as well, and but Steve was playing that. That's when I was saying I was watching Steve, because Steve was a superlative mixer. Mixing was fantastic. Mind you, so was Sasha. So was we all, because in them days, like, you'd have, keep going back to it, Dreams of Santrano, Sueno Latino, Voodoo Ray, Keisha Jenkins, Arnold Jarvis, Young MC or MC Young. Every single tune was different. There was no genres then, so there was no like hardcore or drum and bass, so every single tune was different. So the art of mixing was so. I can't believe you used to mix the tunes and make them sound beautiful. Because I think if I tried it now to mix them tunes, I wouldn't be able to do it. Mixing now is so easy, because it's kind of level itself out. But them days, every single, like the 900 number, God, so many playtime tunes, shaker song, everything, and you used to have to mix them seamlessly. And you didn't have to, but that's what we did. Yeah. And it's to make them tunes sound and take you on a journey as well. Something different.
Yep. Just chatting to you now, it's just making me realise how special it was that we lived through them times. And I just, when you mentioned Arnold Jarvis take some time out, I remember like I used to like save our money up, lunch money at school, and then when I started working, a lot of money would go on records at spinning, and then we'd go around to a mate's house in Earlham. We'd get stoned, and then we'd put these records on, and it's like, I mean, like Arnold Jarvis, that song still sounds powerful now.
So I played it the other day. It was because I always remember I used to go in spinning in my fish clothes and get my records. Then they offered me, because Mike used to work there. They used to have another branch just outside selling CDs online, or selling. I can't remember what they used to do anyway. So Mike went upstairs, and I got a Saturday job at spinning.
Yeah.
So then I worked there for a while, and then I got a full-time job at spinning. So I worked at spinning for a couple of years. But one of the first records when I got my Saturday job was Arnold Jarvis.
Yeah.
And but then I always remember John De Silva mixing it with the instrumental of Young MC Young, whatever it is. And it's just to this day, it's one of the most magical mixes. It's just
John De Silva is amazing, and he, like, my favourite night was Void. I've said this.
Void was fantastic. Yeah. Void, Wet, Hot, all just Friday night. Did it all. But for me, I think it peaked around about 1990 when it started getting commercial, because you just got the. See, I lived in Salford, and then from going from Rotters and Tropicana, I started going to the Hacienda, so I started dressing different. So John De Silva, in them days, like, I didn't even know. So because of the mixing, I thought John De Silva was the best mixer. And then Graham Park, and then Mike Pickering, all very, very good. But on the flyer for the night, it'd be Mike Pickering, Graham Park, John De Silva. But because John De Silva was the best mixer, I thought it was Mike Pickering.
Yeah.
Great. So then I used to like, and then I got to Affleck's, and I used to get the little yellow patches, Manchester E-Posse.
Yeah.
And then started wearing flares. And I grew up, I'm living in Salford Precinct by this time. So I started wearing flares and dungarees, and everyone was like, fucking weirdo. But then if you had like a little Manchester E-Posse T-shirt or badge on and you walk through Piccadilly Gardens or that place and someone would see you, they just give it was like, oh yeah, I know. Excellent.
But there was a period though in the 80s where flares came back.
Yeah.
I remember like
God players. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they looked ace. And then when Acid House came out and then the Summer of Love, then it was ace when flares came back in again.
Oh, yeah. Fucking hell, I had but, well, they just got bell bottoms, didn't they?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I used to have a pair of brown ones, bright green ones, then cord, and then a couple of jeans ones, fucking great, and then a Manchester Posse t-shirt,
Yeah.
fucking great. Best days.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I used to wear, and I wasn't into designer gear then, but I just get an
I wasn't.
extra.
No, I didn't for the money.
Yeah. I'd get an extra large white t-shirt and I'd stick like I have a smiley face badge, or there was a hologram shop in the Arndale. Do you remember that? Like a
Yeah, no, I know exactly what I mean.
yeah,
I know exactly where the
yeah,
shop you mean.
yeah, like quite trippy.
I didn't have the money because I spent all my money on records, all my money on vinyl, every single penny.
And I think like a common theme that's coming up is that people assume everyone was on ecstasy then, but they weren't, were they? Because it was so expensive.
Yeah.
A lot of us were taking trips, weren't we, or just having whiz. And then when the
I mean,
price
Wiz was from. I used to go to Tropicana from 94, 95, 96, and Rotters, and because it wasn't like cocaine come out a bit later than that as well. I mean, to the mainstream, but it was just amphetamine. That's pretty much all you could get. 5 wraps, weren't there?
yeah.
So I always remember it. I'd go to Rotters or Tropicana, get a 5 wrap, and then I always remember, I think it was about 15 and 16, and I walked back home to Odsall, and it was a summer night, and I sat in Odsall Park, because Wiz used to keep it up all night, and someone left a copy of the Sunday Sport, and on on the next bit, and it was saying double-decker bus found on the moon. I sat there fucking thinking, fucking get out of it. Happy days.
I remember the window panes. They were just ridiculously strong. I remember like my first one. My mate said to me like he got me one clear window pane, and then I took it and I said, "Oh, it's not working." And he said, "No, it takes a bit of time." And I said, "No, it's not working." And I gave it about half an hour, and I got impatient. And I said, "Come on, I'm not working tomorrow." And then I had another, and and that was my first one. And then I think within about an hour, I was going home. Like my mate put me in a taxi.
That's it. I was never one for acid. I've took one consciously, and that was when I was DJing in Ibiza in 1990. And see, I loved the buzz of taking like ecstasy or cocaine, but the having a acid, there was no turn up, and you just had to wait. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And so my one and only conscious one was taking it in Ibiza when I was DJing in Ibiza for Charlie Chester in 1990. But yeah, no, and the term acid house as well, like you just mentioned, it was nothing to do with acid. It wasn't a big part of the house music scene, was it? I know it, like, so you got acid tracks on Tracks Records and your Chicago House and Steve Poindexter and all stuff like that. But it was fueled by ecstasy, really, wasn't it? It was, I think, because like you got the Hacienda on Friday, you go into Hume and come home on a Tuesday. I would have got away with it. I'll never know. But I think ecstasy was the drug of choice in the Hacienda, say, or wherever, because there weren't that many clubs anyway. And then you go back to the kitchen, or you go back to Epping Walk, and places like that, and then people would take acid. And it just prolonged the stay, because your ecstasy could wear off after a couple of hours, well, into the night. But then if you went back somewhere at Saturday night and Sunday morning and then took an acid, you'd still be out on Wednesday.
Yeah. Where did you get to play in Ibiza?
I played everywhere. I played Summons, Space, Coup,
Space.
Asparagus, Sankey's. We actually played at the closing night. Me and Andy Barker, my ex-DJ partner from 808 State, we maybe 10 years ago, we played at the closing, one of the closing parties at Space. But yeah, played all over, everywhere.
Did you
When
make
we first went in 90, when I first went, sorry, in 1990, like you got Mambo, Savannah, Cafe Del Mar. There was only Cafe Del Mar, and it wasn't all this razzmatazz now. Like all the clubs, there was no super clubs then. There was all tiny little clubs, and it was all about the music. Now it's fucking rubbish. It's absolute drivel, overhyped, over expensive, and no substance. In my view, but like Cafe Mambo in back in the day, it was just a little bar in the rocks. It was fucking fantastic. You had Alfredo playing, and then I was playing at Summons with Just Jules, loads of Ord Mikel, John De Silva, loads of us, all different people, and that's when it was fantastic.
So you were there right at the very start of that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Wow. So how did it? So some people say that it came from Ibiza because of the ecstasy, but it feels more, as I'm talking to people, it feels like it was more Manchester took it over.
I 100%. I mean, this is my opinion.
Yeah.
See, the Balearic scene come from Ibiza, which is true.
Yeah.
But so I'd be working at Spinning and I'd be DJing. I got the Hacienda. On the Hacienda, you go in and be playing My House every night, boom, fucking rock, Dreams of Santaran and stuff like that. Yeah. So I got to know all the DJ lot from Flying Records, all Oakenfold and all stuff like that. So they come down to Manchester, and I used to go. They used to play at Shooms in like 86, 87. But the tempo of the record, so it was all like Orbital Chimes. Now Orbital Chimes is about 120, 122, something like that, and Don't Be Good to Me and stuff. So it was really Balearic vibe, and it was not boom, 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 which is great. But then I always remember, what's the fucking name? Anyway, a few of the flying lot come down. Okafor was playing, so a few they'll come to me. So I was working at Spending Time, so I said, right, let's go to the Hacienda. And they all had these little necklaces with flying things on them for flying records and flying DJ groups. And when they come to the Hacienda, it was like, fuck me, what's this? Because it was just wallop. And fucking, people like Eric Barker would be on the podium, and everyone would be clapping, and it just boom, boom, bounce, bounce, bounce. And it was nothing like that. And it was like, fucking hell. And then we started going playing up there, and but as for the house music scene is the house music scene. There was the Balearic scene in London at first, with a tempo around about between 120, 125, 126, whereas in Manchester it was fuck off, let's have it.
Yeah. How did it end up? I'm buzzing now listening to you now, because it's like that acid house scene happened really fast, in it. I mean, I know house music had been around for a while, but the acid house and Hacienda, it exploded really fast, in it. And then I'm guessing like that's like, I don't know much about the Ibiza scene because I never went, and I've never really read up on it much. But
the Ibiza scene was the Ibiza scene. I don't think it influenced anything because when I done Ibiza 90, it was this guy called Charlie Tester from London, a promoter. So we got all these DJs. And then booked all these clubs, so Summons, Coup, Space, all places like Asparagus, all places like that, and we all went and DJ'd there. I think the Balearic scene had a far bigger influence on the London scene, and the London DJs than it did on the Northern DJs. Because I didn't come back from Ibiza in 1990 thinking, fucking, I'm going to boom, 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 boom. I went back to, and that time I was working in Liverpool at a club called the Twilight Zone for two guys called John Cummins and John Lynch. And I remember going to And that time then, it was so early in the scene, there was still like a Liverpool and Manchester divide, and but I ended up DJing. I'd done a Friday and Saturday night at this club called the Twilight Zone. It's on Duke Street or Dale Street, one of the two. And sometimes at the end of the night, Graham Park would slow it down right at the very end. And I was always influenced by, because I was a young kid and I aspired to be these gods. So I always remember playing at the end of the night, and I dropped it down to, I can't remember what it was, and this guy would come up and went, "You fucking doing?" But the night I'd been rocking him, what do you mean? He said, "Fucking crank it up," and right, boom, get that off, wallet.
No way. I forgot about the Manchester Liverpool divide. I remember when my mate Chris was going to Cream, and I thought, oh, why would you go out in Liverpool? Like, but like that took off, didn't it? I feel like in the Jackie video, she's probably right, isn't she, where Manchester got dark, and then other places started to take over, didn't they? Or not take over, but I suppose they did, didn't they? Really, like.
Well, I always remember. I was sat in a pub in Salford, some heavy lads, and these other heavy lads from Liverpool were with them. And I always remember one of the Liverpool lads saying, because it was just Gunchester then.
Yeah.
So you had Mossad fighting with Cheatham Hill fighting. So, and it went fucking berserk. It went crazy. It got to the point where there was someone getting shot every week and killed. It didn't even make the front page. It'd be page 3, a lad killed in Mossad or stabbed him, blah, blah, blah. And I always remember this Scouser saying to one of the Salford lads, saying, what are you just fucking doing? He said, they're all making tons of money, but the Scouts are just under the radar. And and they was like, what are you not doing fighting? Make your money and keep yourself under the radar. And I think that's when you were saying it went dark. It went very dark. Yeah. Whereas the other scenes, it went that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I don't want to like mention their names here, but like, if you like, for me, like Hacienda, music, really cool people who I'm still meeting now, like yourself, like and these people from them days that I'm still making new friends. It was amazing. But then if you mention Hacienda to some people, and they'll mention Massey's name straight away, won't they? And then it's like it makes you sound hard, like almost like Hacienda.
Yeah.
And it was never like that, was it? And
no, it wasn't. Well, it went to because it got shut down and reopened, but it wasn't. It just they were all to Cheatham Hill, Salford, Mossad. They was all to blame. It went lawless.
Yeah.
And they were all storming in, walking in with fucking Uzis and going to the bar and ordering, not paying. And this just wasn't one faction. This was like hundreds of fucking heads in the Manchester scene all coming in. And if anyone, and then taxing people, ripping people off, not paying for drinks. And the Hacienda couldn't sustain it, And then the experience of going to the Hacienda, if you're a noble punter, it became really moody.
Yeah.
And then when people are walking about and visibly with guns on them, what do you do?
I suppose sometimes when you talk to young people who would have been too young for obviously, but you mention Hacienda and you want the conversation about the music but then they mention the gangsters straight away, and it's like no, it wasn't about that. Like
it wasn't about, but it is a fundamental.
Aimed at, didn't it? Yeah.
It was a fundamental part of the history of the Hacienda.
Yeah.
And then it shut down, and then they said the Hacienda must be built again, and they tried to reopen, but then it was see what it was. Or what, in my opinion, what it was, like when I first, like I was saying before, when I used to go to the Hacienda, and people from Salford used to call me a weirdo because I dressed differently. But then, soon as they realised from every faction in all over Manchester how much money was to be made from the drug scene, because there wasn't. If you look before acid house, not acid house, I don't like calling it acid house music, and like clubs like Rotters, Tropicana, 42nd Street, stuff like that. It was whiz basically. It was amphetamines, wasn't it? So you could get a wrap of whiz for a £5, and that was what you spent all night on drugs, pretty much. Whereas now, and then it comes to like, and at first it was like 30 quid, 35 quid for an E, and for 10 people, and it's 350 quid in 1986, 1987. Rather than taking 20, 30 quid as a drug dealer, which I'm not, by the way. When I went, I'm a drug dealer. I've never been a drug dealer.
Yeah.
But so then when the money was to be made, and then the faction started taking over, because you used to go in, if you watched in the Hacienda, then Salford lot were here. It was called the Naughty Corner. And then you went a bit further down, and then it just went bonkers, and then people were taxing people, and then it was not so much the ruin of the Hacienda, which it was, but I think it was the ruin of the pure clubbing scene.
Yeah, it's unthinkable, isn't it? Like, it's unthinkable how something could be so beautiful and explode and change everything.
Money.
Corrupted.
Money.
Yeah.
And it's not unthinkable. It's a shame, a crying shame. It wouldn't have lasted for that. I think it was a brief period, and it was amazing. And for me, being 17 in 1987, and the Ecstasy, it just for me as a person, it just went married all in one, and it was perfection for 3 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And then it started to tail a bit.
It's good that, like, I mean, they're split opinions, but I think it's good that they do Hacienda night still.
Yeah.
They're good. I mean, I went to the Warehouse Project a few months ago, and I've never seen anything like it, to be honest. It was a bit too busy for me, but I've never seen
Warehouse Project.
Yeah.
I'm all right. I'm always backstage, so.
Yeah. Have you played it?
Not the Warehouse Project, no. But I was on. I live in Spain now. I live in Fuerteventura, and I was watching BBC Breakfast a couple of days ago, and Hooker, and Graham Park, sorry, were on talking about the Hacienda Classical, and it just brings back memories.
I think with it, like, I always try and aim for about half hour to 45 minutes. So we're coming near the end now. Like, I always try and end them with pick a favourite track from your clubbing days, which is impossible.
Well, I thought I liked you, and you just turned into the right swap. Can I pick 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Because I can't pick.
Of course, yeah.
I'd pick Voodoo Ray.
Yeah.
Because the first time you heard it, it just blew my mind. And then I'd pick Frankie Knuckles, Your Love, because I was working at Spinning. And on the Wednesday, John De Silva come in, and I'm still in. I'd only just started working at Spinning, so Russ gave him his bag, and he gave him Frankie Knuckles, Your Love on Tracks Records. So then, do you remember the All Night at Joy, the first All Night in Rochdale?
Yeah.
So me and Russ were at Joy, and the sun was coming up, and so no one had heard this track, nobody. And John De Silva put on Frankie Knuckles, Your Love. And it's just, that's a memory that's etched into my mind.
I just got a shiver then.
Yeah. And then I'd probably go Dreams of Santana.
Yeah.
And Black Riot, A Day in the Life.
Yeah.
And, oh God, I could go on forever. Acid Thunder.
Yeah, Fast Eddie. So I'll just hit stop recording now, and then we can carry on the chat. Thanks so much, mate.
Excellent.
There we go.